What is the means that you are most capable of being led? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10 Minute Torah, day number 4 of Baha'elatecha. And we want to go into chapter number 10 of Numbers, or Bamidbar, where we begin to look at 2 silver trumpets. Now, I've always wondered why the 2 trumpets were necessary instead of the more common shofar. Let's do a little bit of a word study and we'll find out. First of all, let's understand that silver is kasaf, or kasaf, and it means to long for, to yearn for, to long after, or long deeply. So it is this inward emotional yearning and longing that the word suggests. Silver is also indicative of that which is refined and purified, and that which is righteous. Something that's interesting is my understanding from reading is that the wagon trains in the United States that headed out west, they would often put silver utensils in their water barrels to keep the water from turning bad. Interesting, a purifier. So silver represents then that which is pure, it's been sanctified, that which is set apart, and it is a set apart longing. It's not just a coveting for something that is in the natural realm, but it comes out of the spirit. And that is that the inward person, inward man, woman, is yearning for, longing for deeply that which is pure and set apart. Now, most of us would have an idealistic version of ourselves in mind. There is a place that we would like to walk, a manner of life, living, a means of anointing and usefulness, a significance that we would all like to attain to. Oftentimes, though, we find ourselves yearning for it more than actually obtaining it. Let's continue and see what we need to do. The word for trumpet here is katsosera, an unusual sounding word. It is spelled in Hebrew with a chet, a zadi, a vav, an additional zadi, resh, and hey. What's interesting about this word is that it is a feminine noun, whereas shofar is masculine. So if the shofar, the voice of Elohim, was heard in the sound of the shofar, what is it then that is heard in the sound of the silver trumpets? Shekinah, the feminine aspect of our Creator. Now, before anyone wants to run me out of town on a rail, I am not in any means, and by no means, referencing a female goddess spirit. Yah is neither a male nor a female. But everything that is male comes from him. Everything that is feminine originates with him. He put both male and female in his original human creation, and then by his own choice determined to divide the two. He took the feminine out of Adam, left the masculine, so that now when female and male come together as man and wife, they are one flesh as originally created. The masculine voice of Yah is heard in the shofar. The feminine voice of his manifested presence and light. In Hebrew writings, it is referenced as Shekinah. Again, we're not talking about a female goddess spirit. It's embarrassing to have to go there. But the voice of Yah in the feminine calling is found in the 2 silver trumpets. Now, what's interesting is that the voice of the trumpet had 2 calls, 2 primary calls. One was a single blast was to summon the leadership. A second blast was then to assemble the people, bringing all the people together. And they had to determine whether this is for a congregational meeting or whether this is a mustering of the army for a battle. Now, a leader only got one blast. Why is that? Well, a leader should be accountable enough to where he doesn't have to be repeated again and again, and a call for him to rouse up and do what he is called to do. I say he, it could be a she. And so a leader needs to be in tune with the voice of the Shekinah, the manifested presence of Yahweh, to hear and to yearn and to long for his heart, to the place that when Yah speaks, they listen and then immediately move. There is not a need for repetitious calls. For the assembly is simply a differentiation between leadership and the assembly. They get two calls. And so they assemble themselves, having been summoned to the presence of the Most High. The call then of the silver trumpets is the means by which Yah summons his people. How do we, are we best summoned? How does Yah best get our attention? Israel doesn't so much go by signs, wonders, and visual things, but by what we hear. We're supposed to be a people who are sensitive to the voice of Elohim, and we can go by what we hear. Now, let's break down this word, katsasera, and look at what it might mean for us. Again, we're not declaring a doctrine here, simply looking at symbolic meanings from the paleo forms. Let's just see where it goes. The chet is a tent door that separates the inside from the outside. Pretty simple. The sadi is a fishhook. It symbolizes a righteous man. The fact that there are two sadis then should reference that there are two righteous men. Maybe then this is referencing the two houses, one Israel, one Yehuda. There are two trumpets, maybe one calling for each house, possible. Vav speaks of man, which means to attach or secure. It looks like a nail. The resh is the head. The back of the head, it references one who is a ruler, a chief, someone in authority. And then the hay is the ruach. It is the breath, that which is revealed. So together in their meanings, we might form a paragraph that would read that the trumpets issue a call to righteous ones of Yehuda and Ephraim to separate themselves to righteous pursuits and become attached to or secured by the revelation of the head, who is Yeshua. So it is the voice of the Shekinah heard and the sounding of the two trumpets that is calling the houses to separate themselves to walk uprightly and righteously, securing themselves by becoming attached to the head of the houses, one king over them, Yeshua our Messiah. Now, when these trumpets sounded, they announced unity and victory by acting together in proper protocol and order. And then notice that they were made from a beaten work. A beaten work. This is significant in that it takes time. It takes time and a tapping and a pressure and a forming and extruding from a single ingot that which is to make the call. How much more our hearing? We learn to hear. We have to develop a hearing. As the voice of Yah is sounded to us, we have to learn a sensitivity that it's Him that is speaking to us, and how it is that we are to interpret what it is that He is saying. What does the call sound like? How many blasts? What is He asking of me? Well, the key is to go to the source of the trumpet and find out. We'll talk more tomorrow, and until then, shalom.